The sun had barely crested the acacia trees when I spotted movement ahead on the dusty track cutting through the reserve. As a wildlife conservationist for the past 8 years, I'd learned to read animal behavior, and what I saw made my stomach drop. A Kudu bull staggered onto the road, not with the usual graceful alertness of his kind, but with the desperate, uncoordinated movements of an animal at the end of its rope. I eased my Land Cruiser. Through my windshield, I could see him clearly, magnificent spiral horns, the white stripes along his flanks catching the early light, and something that didn't belong. A vehicle tire locked around his neck like a medieval torture device. "Oh no!"
Oh no.
I whispered to myself, my Swahili accent thickening with emotion. "How long have you been suffering, my brother?" I moved slowly, grabbing my emergency kit and a collapsible water bowl from the back seat. The Kudu watched me with eyes that held more resignation than fear. He was simply too exhausted to run. When I got within a few meters, I could see the full horror of his situation. The tire had worn the fur completely away in a ring around his neck, creating an angry red groove in his skin. Worse, a frayed steel wire protruded from the tire's inner edge, drawing fresh blood each time he moved his head. I set the water bowl on the ground and filled it from my canteen. The Kudu took a tentative step forward, tried to lower his magnificent head, and stopped with a shuddering grunt of pain. The wire bit deeper. He couldn't drink, couldn't graze properly, couldn't live. "I see you," I said softly in Swahili, then English. "I'm going to help you." I circled him carefully, assessing the situation. The tire sat embedded in his neck, and when I tentatively touched its edge, I understood why he couldn't shake it free. It was impossibly heavy, weighed down by something inside. I tried to lift it over his horns, but the Kudu jerked away, and I stumbled backward into the red dust. There was no choice. I pulled out my satellite phone and called the wildlife emergency line. My colleague Thandi answered on the second ring. "Thandi, it's Amara. I need veterinary assistance immediately. I've got a Kudu bull on the eastern track with a tire around his neck. He's in critical condition." "I'm dispatching Dr. Omondi now," she replied without hesitation. "Keep the animal calm and stay safe." For the next 30 minutes, I simply sat in the dust near the Kudu, speaking to him in the low, melodic tones my grandmother used to calm frightened animals when I was a girl. The Kudu didn't try to flee. He simply stood there, sides heaving, his body language screaming exhaustion. Dr. Omondi's white veterinary truck appeared in a cloud of dust, and he emerged with his medical bag and a grim expression. He was a Kenyan vet who'd seen everything, but even he winced when he examined the Kudu. "Amara, this animal has been trapped like this for an incredibly long time. Look at the callousing around the wound. This is months, maybe years old." He prepared a tranquilizer dart and administered it with practiced precision. Within 10 minutes, the Kudu's legs began to sway, and he settled onto the ground, his breathing slow and steady. Dr. Omondi gripped the tire and tried to rotate it. Nothing. He tried to pull it upward. It didn't budge even a centimeter. "What's making it so heavy?" I asked, peering into the gap between the tire and the Kudu's neck. The vet pulled out a small flashlight and shone it into the tire's interior. Mud. Layers and layers of compacted mud. Every rainy season, every water hole, every dusty plain. This tire has been collecting sediment. It's like cement now. He retrieved a handsaw from his truck and attempted to cut through the rubber. After 2 minutes of sawing, he stopped, breathing hard. There's steel reinforcement throughout. "This won't work."
Let me try something.
"Let me try something,"
It's strong enough.
I said.
This might work.
I grabbed a sturdy stick and began chipping away at the hardened mud inside the tire. Dr. Omondi joined me, and together we excavated handfuls of compacted earth, old leaves, small stones, even bits of dried grass that had been compressed into solid mass. Despite our efforts, the tire remained stubbornly in place. The Kudu's horns were simply too wide. Dr. Omondi wiped his brow. "We need cutting equipment. Proper rescue tools. I'm calling the ranger station." 25 minutes later, 2 rangers arrived in their vehicle with heavy-duty bolt cutters designed for cutting through fence wire and metal snares. The first ranger, A woman named Sazani, whom I'd worked with for years, positioned the cutters on the tire's edge where we'd removed the mud. "Here goes," she muttered, squeezing the handles with both hands. There was a sharp metallic snap, one steel belt cut through. But the tire held together. She repositioned the cutters on the opposite side and squeezed again. Another snap, and this time the tire split apart like a broken shackle. Dr. Omondi and I carefully pulled the two halves away from the Kudu's neck. When they hit the ground, the sound was like dropping a bag of cement. "Let's weigh this," Sazani said, her curiosity piqued. Using a portable scale from the Ranger vehicle, we measured both pieces together. 18 kilograms. 18 kilograms. For months, possibly years. Every step, every attempt to eat or drink, every moment of this animal's life had been burdened by the equivalent of carrying a large jerrycan of water strapped to his throat. Dr. Omondi worked quickly, cleaning the raw wounds with antiseptic, applying antibiotic ointment to the abraded skin, and administering a preventative injection. The wounds aren't infected, thank God. He's malnourished and dehydrated, but if he can eat and drink normally now, he has a chance. He gave the reversal agent, and we all stepped back. The Kudu's eyes began to focus. He lifted his head, and for the first time there was no resistance, no pain, no crushing weight. He lowered his muzzle to the water bowl I'd left and drank in long, desperate gulps. Then he stood, shook himself, and did something that brought tears to my eyes. He rubbed his neck against a nearby tree trunk, scratching the places he hadn't been able to reach in so long. The Kudu turned and looked at us, at me, at Dr. Omondi, at the two rangers. His dark eyes held ours for several heartbeats. Then he walked calmly into the bush, his head held high, his stride steady and strong. Sazani picked up one half of the tire. "How does something like this even happen?" Dr. Omondi shook his head. "Illegal dumping. Someone threw this into the bush, and when this Kudu was younger, maybe during the season when he'd shed his horns, his head was small enough to fit through. When his horns grew back, he was trapped. Every rain added more mud. Every day added more weight. The wire that cut into his neck probably broke free only recently. Another week, and his heart would have given out." I stood watching the spot where the Kudu had disappeared into the thorn scrub. In my years as a conservationist, I'd seen the terrible cost of human carelessness. Animals caught in snares, poisoned by pesticides, struck by vehicles. But this felt different. This wasn't malice, just thoughtlessness. Someone's discarded tire had become a death sentence, and only luck, and a team of people who cared, had rewritten the ending. As we packed up our equipment and prepared to leave, I made a silent promise to that Kudu and to all the animals I'd sworn to protect. I would keep showing up. I would keep fighting. Because sometimes, showing up is all it takes to change everything.